From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
As trade tensions mount, the administration seeks to find new partners in the Pacific. More top White House officials say NAFTA negotiations could wrap up soon. In agribusiness, cattle on feed numbers hit a new record, but can prices handle those heavier supplies?
Packers are making good money, demand's pretty good.
And the dairy industry is making commitments to consumers. We'll see how the Farm Animal Care Program is helping build bridges from farm to fork.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Even as trade tensions continue between the U.S. and some of its major export markets, the administration says it's actively searching for new partners. On Monday, the State Department announcing $113 million in investments in the Indo-Pacific regions of Asia, the money going to focus on digital economies, energy, and infrastructure. In remarks to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Forum in Washington Monday, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo saying the investments represent America's engagement in the region and dedication to promoting independence there. Now, earlier in his presidency, Donald Trump pulled out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, a key free trade deal in that region. Now Pompeo saying they want to make it clear American companies are continuing to advance U.S. economic interests in the region.
I know some are wondering about America's role in the region in light of President Trump's decision to pull out of the TPP. While we work with our partners to craft better and higher standard bilateral trade agreements, our companies are continuing to advance U.S. economic interests by growing their presence in the region.
Also on trade, more optimistic outlooks rolling out about the North American Free Trade Agreement. The latest, U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross saying there's, quote, a pretty good chance of a deal with Mexico. The upbeat rhetoric happening after the latest round of NAFTA negotiations wrapped up in Washington last week. Mexico's president-elect already appointing a new trade team, with Ross saying there's really a pretty good chance that the U.S. and Mexico could be on a rapid track with trade talks. The Mexican peso gaining traction during those talks, and U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer saying last week that NAFTA discussions are in the finishing stages and could be wrapped up by the end of August. That would mark 1 year since those NAFTA negotiations began. Now, it's been a week since the Trump administration announced $12 billion in tariff relief aid to farmers and ranchers. Now, new numbers show how much aid is needed to help everyone negatively impacted by those tariffs. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce saying such aid would cost taxpayers $39 billion. That includes the $12 billion already designated to farmers. Then there's an additional $27 billion to support other affected industries. At the top of the list, fishermen and crabbers, $811 million. That's followed by manufacturers of prepared meats and fish with a price tag of $301 million. USDA's latest crop progress report showing 38% of the nation's corn crop in dough stage, 18 points ahead of average. Conditions holding steady from last week at 72% good to excellent. Well, it's only 33% in drought-stricken Missouri. 60% of the nation's soybeans are setting pods, 19 points ahead of average. Bean conditions also holding steady at 70% good to excellent. Missouri beans only at 40% good to excellent. And spring wheat harvest is now underway. Nationally, 4% is cut. It's a third harvested in South Dakota, 78% of the crop, good to excellent, a tick lower than last week. It's a Harvest Tuesday on AgDay as Mike Hoffman catches us up on harvest progress. Good morning, Mike.
Thanks, Clinton. It's not just wheat harvest still underway. Farmers in Kentucky are already picking the corn crop this year. Quint Pottinger says he's testing out an early season hybrid and going to plant beans behind this field. But this corn will be used for not only deer corn, but Kentucky bourbon. Quint tells us the yields are coming in about average. Quint says his later maturing varieties have the potential to be really good, though, pending rain this week. USDA says more than 80% of Kentucky's corn crop is in the good to excellent shape. And farmers in Colorado can't seem to escape the hail this year. Mark says hail must be the official stone of Prospect Valley. This is the 8th time they've seen hail damage on this crop this year. And take a look at the wind speed forecast. Not a lot of it, a little bit in the southern plains as we start the day today. As we head through the afternoon, mid-Atlantic down into Florida, parts of Texas, and a few spots out west. Heading into the day tomorrow, then you can see not too windy across most of the country. Later on in the afternoon, a little bit more mid-Atlantic down to Florida once again. We'll have your forecast coming up, but first here are some hometown temps.
Plan for the unexpected with weather forecast updates. Local forecasts are delivered right to your cell phone each morning, making planning a little bit easier. Just text Weather 6 to 31313 to get started.
The National Dairy Farm Program strives to create a culture of continuous improvement for the entire dairy industry. For more information, visit nationaldairyfarm.com.
Today, consumers want to know how their food gets from the farm to the grocery store shelf. The dairy industry recognizes this consumer attitude and has developed a system called the National Dairy Farmers Assuring Responsible Management, also known as the Farm Animal Care Program, which is a uniform guide with benchmark standards for dairy farmers, cooperatives, and processors to use to make sure they're shipping a safe product that's sourced responsibly. In this new series, Betsy Chippen looks at how the Farm Animal Care Program is working.
During another summer morning in upstate New York, Blake Gendabine finishes up his quick chores before lunch.
My father said, the farm next door is for sale. Now's the time to jump if you want to get into dairying, and we can merge the two farms together.
That was in 2003, when Gendabine, who lived outside of New York's borders, made the move back to the farm. He and his wife Carmen worked together to create twin mill farms in Ogdensburg, New York. 56 cows slowly became 550. New facilities replaced the old, and 2 soon became 5.
I remember sleeping on Dad's lap on the Deutz 8006 as a kid, and I wanted that for my kids. Hey, Malin.
Like other dairy farmers in the United States, he wants to be known as a producer of a reliable, safe product.
For a customer hundreds of miles away to feel good about feeding our products to their family is a #1 priority for all of us.
Agrimark, Gendabine's milk marketer, decided to implement the farm program standards. The standards were created back in 2009 by the National Milk Producers Federation with support from Dairy Management Incorporated. As a member, Gendabine participated too. Currently, the farm program equates to about 98% of the marketed milk supply.
It gives us uniformity throughout our co-op and throughout the industry in general, which I think is the biggest sell point to our customers.
Well-known companies like Chobani are getting on board too.
Our farms range from some of the larger ones in Idaho to smaller Amish farms in New York where the cows are hand milked.
Despite the diversity of milk suppliers to Chobani, one thing is the same. The company is making it a requirement all of the milk sourced at Chobani is a part of the farm program.
I'm working closely with retailers and stores. I understood how important it was for them to be able to say that they're sourcing their products responsibly, that the products they put on their shelves have been sourced responsibly.
The program is made up of 3 silos: animal care, environmental stewardship, and antibiotic stewardship.
And the guys don't mind doing 3 trips, 6, 6, 6.
Evaluations and benchmark improvements are all documented at each dairy. Trained field evaluators like Jones check the cattle to make sure animal husbandry standards are met. And Gendabine is seeing big gains.
We've only been in the new facility since last November. When we moved in, our milk production is now up 15 pounds per cow, and it's steadily improving.
He's working on environmental stewardship as well, the pillar which looks at a farm's carbon and energy footprint.
So we just put in a new manure pit.
He's making the change to LED lights and to his water system.
So our water is used twice, once to cool the milk, and then a second time to water the cows, for the cows to drink.
The third pillar focuses on antibiotic stewardship, looking at the judicious use of antibiotics, knowing all milk is screened and any load which tests positive never makes it to market.
If we keep it simple, things tend to run better. But if we need to use antibiotics, we follow the guidelines and the withholdings that are listed in the farm program.
Overall, Gendabine says the farm program helps him become a better farmer.
Every time that I have an evaluation, I see room for improvement. It's never perfect. I want to be perfect, but nothing ever is. And it allows me to target specific areas where I can do a better job. Good for them to drink water on these hot days.
As Jen DeBean finishes up some last-minute jobs, he knows even the small tasks are important for the reputation of his dairy.
I knew I needed to get back. I just knew it.
Reporting for AgDay, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
Still to come, can cattle prices handle the growing cattle herd? One analyst says there was a silver lining in that latest Cattle on Feed report. And later, good people standing up to help others in need. In agribusiness, markets finding some strength early in the day Monday. Let's see how things closed from the floor of the CME in Chicago.
D's corn up 4 cents, $3.82. That's a stunning 2 3/4% rise in the last 5 days. Right now, about down 65 basis points on a year-to-date basis. Hard to believe it. Just back on July 12th, D's corn was trading as low as $3.50. Export inspections came out today with a stunning 24.93% gain week on week and a 67% gain year on year. Right now, year-to-date exports only down 2.5% on a year-on-year basis. It's a little bit better than most people expected, thus the rally that we've seen today. Also noteworthy is as of last week, managed money continues to be short the corn contract. It's 11 consecutive weeks of shorts. Rain continues to be a narrative that a lot of us are watching. I'm Larry Shover from the CME Group in Chicago.
While grains are off and running, livestock markets are fighting to hold steady. An analysis this morning, Tyne Morgan joins us from the road with a look at cattle prices and inventory pressure.
Here now with Chip Nellinger of Blue Reef Agri-Marketing. Chip, looking at these cattle markets and looking at the latest cattle on feed report that really came in line with analysts' expectations, there wasn't really any big surprises with this cattle on feed report. So do you think maybe we've found the bottom in this cattle market?
Yeah, it may be for the time being the best case scenario, and it still underscored record amount of cattle on feed. But it was the first cattle on feed report in probably 8 or 9 months that we didn't exceed the pre-report expectations. So that's a good sign, especially given the fact that we're screaming into the third quarter here, and then by winter and spring, those numbers should tighten back up and we have better things ahead of us. I guess the bright spot to me is we've gotten through these last several cattle on feed reports, and we're still trading, 110 to 112 in the cash market. Packers are making good money, demand's pretty good, so we've gotten through these big numbers fairly unscathed to this point.
Pork's pretty cheap. So do you think the impressive demand can continue on the beef side, considering the competitiveness when you look at the pork market?
Yeah, that's going to be a question that we're going to have to really see how those export sales hold up, see how domestic demand holds up. I think that beef demand, domestically especially, is really, really solid, and the exports have been impressive as well. But that's going to be an issue. If we don't get something figured out on the tariff side to help prop up these hog prices a little bit, it could become a negative drag on beef. But it's not going to be overnight. It's going to be gradual, and I think by the time that's an issue, maybe the cattle numbers are shrinking into winter, and that can offset that a little bit.
So maybe the balance then continues.
A little bit of a balance thing. And right now in the whole meat sector, cattle's the shining star. They're getting through these big numbers, and sure, we're off, a year ago levels, but it's still fairly respectable, and we're holding that money together.
All right, Chip Nellinger, Blue Reef Agri-Marketing, thank you. Let's take a quick break here on Ag Day, and then we'll be back with much more.
Farming has changed. Markets are riskier than ever. For customized, focused commodity marketing, contact Chip Nellinger or Adam Dreyer at 309-550-7213.
Welcome back to Ag Day. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman here. And Mike, as we get set to start August already, what do you think
I know, it's hard to believe.
I know, right? What do you think about as far as patterns go?
I still think in general for the next 3 to 4 weeks we're going to have the ridge out west and the trough in the east. Now, will there be 1 or 2 day hot spells farther east? Probably. It is August. But overall, I think it's cooler than normal east. And I probably should preface that by saying most of the Corn Belt, when I say kind of east of the Rockies, the far northeast might actually be warmer than normal at times overall over the next month. All right, here we go for today. Area of low pressure bringing some moisture to the central Mississippi Valley into the Ohio Valley, especially the Ohio Valley. As we head through this afternoon, you can see that a little bit up into the lower lakes. Next cold front dipping into the northern plains. Areas of showers and thunderstorms in the mid-Atlantic and the southeast, kind of typical for this time of the year with that humidity. Then as we head toward tomorrow morning, showers and thunderstorms scattered through the eastern Ohio Valley into New England, a little bit across the far northern Mississippi Valley, and then as we head through the afternoon, we'll see a fair amount of showers and thunderstorms along this next front coming south, so into northern Iowa, parts of Wisconsin, northern Michigan. And then just scattered showers and thunderstorms mainly east of this cold front, but there'll be some showers behind it as well. And the typical pattern out west, we still have the monsoon moisture occasionally bringing you some afternoon spotty showers and thunderstorms. There's a precipitation estimate past 24 hours. A lot of it's been in Florida, but there have been some pockets farther north. Also around Texarkana, looking like they did get some decent rains. Then you add in the next 36 hours, and when you total everything up, there's a lot of places from the Ohio River down to Florida, back in eastern Texas, that end up with 2 or 3 inches of rain. Now, places down the road may only get a half inch or an inch or so, but nonetheless, there's a decent amount of moisture in the southeast quadrant of the country. Now, high temperatures today, a little warmer than we saw last week into the northern plains, but still, those aren't bad for this time of the year. Lower 80s, 70s in most of the eastern Corn Belt, and you can see the 80s instead of the 90s all the way down into the southeast, so those areas are actually cooler than normal for this time of the year. Lows tonight, a few 50s in the far northern sections, but mainly 60s. Through the Corn Belt, not bad at all. 70s are kind of have been pushed down all the way to the Gulf Coast. Now it stays hot out west, obviously, southwest, because we are looking at triple digits in parts of the desert southwest, but a lot of 70s and 80s from coast to coast across the country. Obviously, the places in Texas that are dry, you'll be in the 90s again. And there's that trough in the east as we head through the rest of this week. It just kind of sits there. It does weaken a little bit, so it'll warm up somewhat. Then it goes away for a couple of days over the weekend, and then digging back in again as we head into the middle of next week with the ridge building up out west. That's kind of the average pattern I'm seeing for most of August. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, Kanab, Utah, hot with a mix of sunshine and clouds, high up to 95 degrees. Elgin, Illinois, partly sunny, a shower in a few spots, high around 80. And Petersburg, Virginia, partly sunny skies, a thunderstorm possible, high 83.
So to come, does the average consumer care if almond milk is labeled milk? We'll have those details next in our dairy report. And later, this young man wasn't the top of his class, but his community made sure he felt their support. We'll tell you about this uplifting story coming up. In our dairy report, the culling of dairy cows now at the highest level since 2013, while the cost of replacement heifers fell to a multi-decade low. New numbers showing dairy producers sent 1.56 million head to slaughter during the first half of the year. Analysts say this suggests there's little appetite to expand herds. It could set the stage for future U.S. milk herd contraction. That follows several years of growing herd numbers and rising milk supplies, both factors weighing on milk prices. Meanwhile, the average price being paid for quality Holstein replacement heifers or cows fell to $1,200 per head. Buyers haven't seen replacement heifers that low in decades. And a new study found 78% of milk drinkers say dairy-free beverages are still milk. The Plant-Based Foods Association saying it conducted a survey of milk drinkers. That's as the debate heats up over the labeling of plant-based beverages using the word milk on its packaging. Food and Drug Administration is looking to crack down on those labels, saying the government agency is planning to review and modernize dairy labeling. When we come back, it's not all doom and gloom in farm country. We'll show you why.
In the Country, sponsored by the all-new Kubota Sidekick, a utility vehicle that lets you climb more, cover more, tow more, and enjoy more. Visit KubotaUSA.com.
One thing we've witnessed over and over is the way rural communities come together to support each other in times of trial. That's been in full display in a whole host of ways over the past few weeks. Take this for instance, this county fair auction in Eddy County, New Mexico. That's in the town of Artesia. The young man selling a steer topping the sale with an all-time county record of $56,000. Now, according to posts from those at the fair, the young boy lost his father earlier in the year, the community pitching in, bidding it up to $56,000, offering support and help through a difficult time. Those in attendance say there wasn't a dry eye in the barn. Thanks to Shara Evans for sharing that video on Facebook. And this from our friend Kevin Dooling out in Oregon. You may remember wildfires burning several million bushels of the wheat crop. Now Kevin says, what are those producers who lost their crop doing without a harvest? Well, they're harvesting for the neighbor who lost a hired hand in the fire. That's class. That's why he says he helps the best people in the world. People helping others. A great perspective for a new week. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. Spend part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.